there, everybody. Welcome to Kent with Bent number 115, The Life of Hovind, or his Life of Hovind, which of course is based on the Monty Python movie Life of Brian. So, I hope everyone is having a great time. Bent, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing okay, but as I might have said already in chat, the person who's in charge of making sure that I have the next Dapper Dino video, or sorry, Kent Hovind video downloaded, didn't do his job this week. So I'm currently downloading it as we speak. It has about 3 minutes or so to go. And so, that's a thing that happened. That was fun. So that guy's probably going to get fired. Yeah, yeah. We're going to have to fire that guy. I think his name's Tim. Fire
I've
that
heard
guy.
of him.
Yeah, I heard of him
I've
too.
heard of that guy. He's
Yeah.
okay.
You say so.
He does okay work, but maybe it's time for him to go.
Yeah, probably. But that still means that we have time to explain the rules to the drinking game, while still probably having, finishing after the video finishes. Then we can put it up, and there you go. Yeah, DM, what used to have a wing, uh, aka DM Fwing, says, "Was that your butler who forgot?" Yeah, we'll go with that. That's what we'll go with. All right, so we are here primarily to watch Kent Hovind nonsense and drink about it because it's really dumb. So we might as well start going through the rules for that. So first up, if Kent Hovind says something that's so stupid, it's, our brains need to cool off a little bit, we'll take a drink for that. Now, it's not just that he's wrong, right? It has to be really, really dumb, which is almost everything he says still, so, whatever.
Yeah, most of it.
If he says something that is factually accurate, but he's not just quoting someone else, it's actually coming from his brain, down his spinal cord, up around the bottom of that, was it, like under the aorta or something? I don't know. And then back up to his vocal box, and then it comes out, then yeah, we'll take a drink for that if it's right. We'll also take a drink anytime Kent Hovind tells a joke that doesn't land, or tells a story that we're pretty darn sure didn't happen. Like, for instance, if he were to confuse a conversation that he had with a shampoo bottle with a conversation he had with a Berkeley professor on a hypothetical airplane, we'll take a drink for that. We'll also take a drink anytime Kent Hovind mentions the National Socialist German Workers' Party or mentions various historically significant events, especially connected to them in like the 30s and 40s, or any of the various more prominent or infamous members of that political party. Take a drink for all those. Now, we'll also take a drink if Kent Hovind cites a source, and when we look it up, not only does the source fail to support him, it actually contradicts him. We call that a Trojan source. We'll also take a drink if Bent or I can predict what his argument's going to be.
Yay.
Now, those are the ways that Kent can make us drink, but there are also other ways. If Mothra or Godzilla come by audibly, we'll take a drink. That happens occasionally. Now, Royland Hutchins for $2 has just said, Kent, get bent, AIG or a bag of dicks, and a Godzilla emoji. So we're going to take a drink. That's our first drink of the night. And that actually triggers 2 of the drink triggers, but we only take 1 per super chat or milestone chat. If you milestone or super chat anything that has any of the kaiju emojis, including Godzilla, Mothra, or King Ghidorah, we'll take a drink. Now, to get that, you do have to be a channel member. There's a link right below this video that says join. If you click that, you can follow directions to become a channel member, which gives you access to all sorts of perks. Also, you can wait. Sometimes people will gift memberships, and you might be lucky enough to get one. The more you participate in chat, the more likely you are to get a gifted membership when people gift them. The other option, of course, is the AIG is a bag of dicks. If you super chat anything to the effect that AIG are a bag of dicks, we will take a drink for that. Now that also counts for milestone chats. So if you are a member and you have one of your, you've been this many months, so now you have a new milestone chat, it counts for those too. And yes, well, first we'll go through these. Actually, first, what we're going to do is, Bent, have I covered all of them?
You mentioned gift channel memberships. We drink for those?
Yes, yeah, we do drink for gifted memberships. So we drink for each gifted membership. So if you give 5, we'll take 5 drinks. If you give 1, we'll take 1. Now, starting at about 30 or so, it's just to finish your drink and go get a new one, rather than counting out that many individual drinks. Also, you might be wondering, why is Bent wearing a tutu?
Yay.
Well, that is because last week we hit our fundraising goal for the tutu. Um, Basically, every week we have a fundraising goal for a tutu, which is also the fundraising goal for me to make another video where I have feathers. And basically, every time we meet it, we up it a little bit. And I believe that at this point, it's at 235. So if we can get 235 in super chats and memberships, we'll do another tutu video next time, and I will have a fourth feather video to make. So I'm actually currently rendering one of them. So let's take a look at the super chats and stuff that have come in. Dragon Spartan 90 official for 5 beaver bucks says, crazy. I was crazy once. They threw me into a leather sack full of AIGs, and AIGs make me crazy. Crazy? I was crazy once. Nice. We will take a drink for that. That is close enough to a AIG or a bag of dicks. Okay. DM what uses half a wing? DM what uses half a wing, aka DM Fwing, has been a channel member for 13 months and is at the amniote level. And DM says, Godzilla, Mothra, Ghidorah, AIG is a bag of dicks. Membership benefits, take a drink. Yes, all of that except membership benefits was in emojis. Because we have a drink emoji. It was actually a lot of fun to make. I made most of the emojis on the channel. Let's see. Savage Shanghai Job Cobra for $5 says, the Hovind shall bear a 9-bladed sword. 9-bladed. Not 2 or 5 or 7, but 9, which he will wield without paying the requisite taxes. Nice. Astronaut for $4.99 says, and each of the Hovind 9 blades have a phallic object engraved on them. Legend says it is the holy symbol of the AIG. We'll take a drink for that.
Nice.
Jillian Renz for $2 says the 10-year-old's birthday is tomorrow. Well, happy birthday to
Happy
the
birthday.
almost 10-year-old. Gonna hit those double digits. That's a big milestone right there. Now, the video has in fact finished downloading. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly put us into the intermission screen, and we are going to set that up so that you all can see it, and Ben can see it, and Ben can hear it. And then we'll be back. It should not take even a full minute. So please stick with me while you're doing that. Make sure you hit like, because remember, a like a day keeps the Bilbo away. Okay, and we are back. Sorry about that, but that's the kind of thing that kind of happens when, the guy you put in charge of getting the new video just doesn't do his job. Which is unacceptable in my opinion, but, he's been with the channel for a really long time, so maybe we'll keep him around for now.
Cut him some slack.
Cut him a little bit of slack, not too much.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. Now, this does have a similar problem to the last video, where there is a really, not quite as bad, but there's still a pretty bad buzz. My plan is, in fact, to, after today, go through and fix the sound, basically. Get some, noise reduction, put in some, a noise gate, maybe normalize the sound a little bit, some basic stuff like that. The kind of stuff that you could do if you had this video lying around on your hard drive and were uploading it to YouTube. People who upload old Kent Hovind videos. Snorfoot, who's been a member for 9 months and is at the amniote level, says, Jarvik the Prothean says that even in his era, AIG was a big bag of you-know-what. Awesome. I'm glad to know that even 50,000 years ago, AIG were a bag of dicks. Jarvik, good job, buddy. Although, you're kind of a dick to basically everyone, Jarvik. You could tone it down a little bit. Goodness. Also, especially if you take him on priority Thessia, he's always like, you and your silly religious beliefs. We're actually your gods. Okay, thanks, Jarvik. You don't have to keep reminding everyone about this the whole time. Last time I was here, the Asari were basically in the Stone Age. Okay, Jarvik, we get it. All right. With that being said, I think it is time to move on to Kent Hovind. What do you say?
Yeah, unfortunately it is, but that's what we're here for.
It is.
Well, thank you for joining us for our class. And you should have finished your quiz by now from the last time.
Oh, darn. I didn't take my quiz.
Me neither.
Oh well. Next time.
Session, you should take the quiz from the week before, and then I'll start in again. In this session, we're going to talk about dinosaurs that are still alive.
Oh, good. We're going to talk about birds. Except, I'm very confident that we're not going to talk about birds at all, which is too bad, because that would count. Now, DM What Uses Half a Wing, aka DM Swing, for $2, says drink with a Godzilla followed by a wine glass, a martini, what is that? Is that a Mai Tai? Maybe it's a Mai Tai. A beer, 2 beers, sake. Oh, actually, it says it's a tropical drink, just tropical drink. Okay, I'm going to go with Mai Tai. Champagne, and then champagne glasses, and another drink emoji. All right, well, we will, in fact, take a drink.
Ooh.
Thank you very much. Okay, here we go.
This is my normally seminar part 3B, and I'm going to try to cover a lot of ground tonight instead of chasing too many rabbits, because I have spent 20 years studying this topic of dinosaurs that are still alive.
And at no point during those entire 2 decades did he ever bother to learn what a dinosaur is in the first place, so he could tell if he found a dinosaur that's still alive. I mean, think about it.
What are his criteria? I mean, what is he pretending he knows? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, look, we know he's going to talk about like the Loch Ness monster and Mokele-mbembe and crap like that, right? Like that's his classic stuff. But it's just
squid.
Yeah, it's goodness. It's just funny to me that he'll be like, "Oh, I spent the last 20 years looking for living dinosaurs." It's like, Kent, you wouldn't be able to tell if you found one because you don't know what a dinosaur is.
He doesn't have any idea,
right? It's like if I were looking around the neighborhood for stray cats, but when I described what a cat is, I was actually describing like a raven or some crap. And you're like, well, you're going to have a really tough time finding stray cats if you think that they're black feathery birds with a weird caw. Like, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Like he thinks that Loch Ness Monster is a dinosaur, which it couldn't be even if it were a surviving plesiosaur. All right, here we go.
I suspect I've read 300 books on this topic.
Kent, you are functionally illiterate by every piece of evidence I have ever seen. You might have looked at the words in 300 books, but I do not believe for a second that you read 300 books.
I've read every one I can find at all of the major libraries I've gone to research this. If you go to the library, if it's on the Dewey system, you go to 001.9, and you'll find books on what's called cryptozoology.
Jillian Wren got it right. Cryptids.
Cryptozoology, be a good quiz question there, Becky, is the study of hidden animals.
Okay. Cryptozoology is not just the study of hidden animals, right? Because then, like, moles would count, because they hide under the ground. Cryptozoology is the attempt to demonstrate that animals, primarily, I guess maybe there could be plants, but I've never heard of any, but basically animals that are currently either not known to exist or are rejected for various reasons as existing by science, and trying to prove that those things actually do exist. It's basically a bunch of pseudoscience, because there are also real-world expeditions to find new species, and they don't do things like take eyewitness accounts of people having been assaulted by Bigfoots, or seeing plesiosaurs in a lake that couldn't possibly support a population of plesiosaurs. Nor do they take seriously ideas like, well, maybe Bigfoot is just interdimensional and he can use the trees to reach other dimensions. That's why he's hard to photograph.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe, but we're not going to take that seriously. So, yeah, this is just a different kind of pseudoscience that Kent likes to bolt on to young Earth creationism under the mistaken belief that if he were to be able to find a living non-avian dinosaur, that would somehow be a strike against evolution, even though nothing about evolution says that all the non-avian dinosaurs have to be extinct. The reason we think that is because, well, we don't see any evidence of them after the KPG at all. So they're probably not here. And a lot of them would be hard to hide, you know? Like if there were a Brachiosaurus wandering around, like where would you put that it wouldn't be noticeable? And apparently, to Kent, the answer is the Congo.
Means hidden. Zoology is study of animals. So the study of hidden animals, or animals that are very rarely seen, would be cryptozoology.
No, Kent, because again, plenty of animals would meet the definition of rarely seen that aren't cryptozoological, like the black-footed ferret, which was thought to be extinct for a while because it was so rarely seen. The black-footed ferret is not a cryptid. It's a well-known animal that science accepts. Basically, if science thinks it's real, it's not cryptozoology. That's what you can go with. It's the study of animals that science says probably not real. Or definitely not real in some cases.
The man who made up this term, cryptozoology, is Bernard Heuvelmans, who is a French scientist, and he has been a long-time president of the Cryptozoology Society.
Well, that makes sense, given that he made up the term. I feel like if you made up a term for a new field of study that only kind of exists, you would probably end up being the president of the club that you start. Yeah. It's like I'm gonna start, like, I don't know, just some new branch of study. What is it? I'm gonna start Ecology, and I'm gonna become the president of the Ecology club. It's gonna be great.
Have fun.
They study lots of things besides just Loch Ness Monster type things. They would also study Bigfoot.
Like, that's a super different kind of thing.
Not too much in UFOs, but mostly animals that are still alive. And so there have been, according to Bernard Heuvelmans,
Heather Kuhn for $5 says, cryptozoology is about animals. By definition, looking for mystery plants would be cryptobotany. That's what I'm going to start. I'm going to start the cryptobotany club. Yeah.
Good idea.
Yeah. We're going to look for, like, Harry Potter-style magical plants. Plants that scream when you pull them out of the ground, and plants that can turn you into a blob of jelly, and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Savage Shanghai Job Cobra for $5 says, does the search for the honest apologist fall within the remit of cryptozoology? No, because I think it's usually about, like, new species, not just surprising varieties of already well-known species. But then again, maybe not, because there are some people who might say that, like, maybe melanistic lions, which could exist, but there's no evidence that any do. Like, maybe that would fall under cryptozoology. So, like, maybe, but I don't think so. But, you know.
20,000 reported sightings of dinosaurs in this century.
That's a really low number once you realize that birds are dinosaurs, but okay.
Just in the last 100 years, there have been 20,000 people that claim they've seen a live dinosaur. Now, there's no question some of...
No, hold on. Those are two different claims, right? 20,000 reported sightings is not the same thing as 20,000 people who reported seeing. Because some people are going to double up, right? Like, I know this from, like, Bigfoot hunting shows, because, look, they're funny, so sometimes I watch a Bigfoot hunting show. I don't believe in Bigfoot, just like I don't believe in ghosts, but you know what? Sometimes I watch a ghost hunting show. I don't believe in ancient aliens, but my goodness, Giorgio Sakula saying, is such a thing even possible? Yes, it is hilarious to me. So, but from that I know that a lot of people who've seen cryptids claim to have seen them more than once. So out of 20,000 sightings, I would expect there to be more like 16 or 17,000 people reporting these sightings. But that's a little bit nitpicky.
Of them are frauds, you know, mistaken identity, etc., etc. But let's just talk about this. Is it...
Alan Garland says, can I buy some cryptozoology with bitcoins? No, you actually have to buy cryptozoology NFTs with Ethereum, which are going to be minted. But you can't just buy them directly with Ethereum. You have to use my special crypto coin, which is held on the Ethereum blockchain. And I'm going to be having my initial offering in a few weeks. None of that's true, by the way. Don't buy NFTs, and especially do not use any coin that I would ever offer. Not that I ever plan to. It's all a scam. Allegedly.
Possible that some dinosaurs could still be alive? What I point out in my seminar is that I think we've got overwhelming evidence that dinosaurs have always lived with man. They're called dragons through most of history. And there are certainly a lot of artifacts found, human and dinosaur artifacts together, human and dinosaur footprints together. But none of that is necessary if dinosaurs are still alive. And I think there's quite a bit of evidence that some are still around. We're going to try to cover that as much as possible in one class and then go on into lies in the textbooks for our next one. But
at least the lies in the textbooks, if they were actually lies, would be some kind of argument, right? Like, oh, hey, they're indoctrinating your kids. How can you tell? Because they're saying these things that aren't true in your textbooks, which turns out they are mostly true, but at least that would be a thing that's like worth pointing out. Instead, it's just like, what if dinosaurs survived longer than we thought? Then dinosaurs survived longer than we thought. Okay. Sure.
Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah. I mean, look, it wouldn't be the first organism that we've found that we thought went extinct during the Mesozoic. Like the Wallaby pine in Australia or the coelacanth in the Indian Ocean. Like, yeah, that happens very rarely in out-of-the-way places. And then we're like, huh, well, that was unexpected. Neat. And then science just moves on. I mean, not completely. There are people who then go study those things, but still.
So I'm going to have to just cut it off in the middle and say, okay, research on your own. If you want to read some books, we have a half a dozen books in our catalog that deal with this topic. One that I wrote with William Gibbons called Claws, Jaws, and Dinosaurs would be just a cheap $5 book you could get and covers a lot of information on dinosaurs still living. Most of the authors on cryptozoology are evolutionists. And it's really funny to read what they say. They will do all this interesting research on dinosaurs are still living, and they go through all these sightings and stories, and then they say, wow, it's amazing. Some survived for 70 million years. So they come to the wrong conclusion.
I'm just going to take a drink because I don't think he's going to tell us why that's the wrong conclusion or tell us why late surviving dinosaurs would be evidence against evolution or for special creation. I don't think he's going to do it.
No, he just believes it, so he says it.
Yeah.
And he thinks that's teaching, but it's not.
Honestly, if I were to ever talk to Kent again, I think it's one of the questions I would ask him is, why do you think that late surviving dinosaurs would be evidence against evolution and for creation? Now, I don't plan on ever speaking to Kent Hovind again because not a big fan of convicted domestic abusers. So, you know. But if I did, that would be high up on my list of questions to ask.
Mm-hmm.
After all of that, the right conclusion is, no, the world is not 70 million years old. God made it 6,000 years ago. There was a canopy above the atmosphere when God first made it.
We're just going to drink for the physically impossible canopy.
It was a miracle.
Yeah, I guess that's the only way it would work.
One continuous miracle.
Yep.
Increased air pressure. Dinosaurs lived with man during this time. We covered in the last few classes about the Ica stones. Who remembers how many Ica stones have been found?
I don't.
Over 50,000, right. 50,000 of these stones found in Ica, Peru. 56,000 more found in Mexico.
If they're not from Ica, they're not Ica stones, Kent. Ica is the name of like a village, man. Right? It's like if I said, oh, hey, look, I've got Kentucky bourbon from South Carolina. No, you don't. You've got South Carolina whiskey at best. You can't have Kentucky bourbon if it's not from Kentucky. It's a minor point, but it's like, come on, man. Ica stones have to be from Ica, Peru. It's in the name.
It just demonstrates he doesn't know what he's talking about. We already knew that, but now we know it again.
True.
And they have humans and dinosaurs carved on them together. And here the textbooks are teaching the kids that dinosaurs lived millions of years ago.
I mean, yeah, because all the evidence points that way.
And yet we have art, we have artifacts.
I like that this is the slide he shows them, like, we have art that shows that dinosaurs are still alive, and it's like, that's not the art you want to be pointing at, my guy. Because that's clearly recent in a kid's book that says millions of years ago, but okay.
We have evidence that man and dinosaurs have lived together.
Do we?
I think probably there's a bigger picture we need to look at here. Satan hates humanity. He wants to send people to hell. and he wants his one world government, new world order.
That one's always weird to me. Satan wants to have a one world order. Like, why? So there can be fewer wars or something? Like, I don't get it. What advantage is it up to Satan if there's one government?
He can control the world.
I mean,
He controls that one government.
Couldn't he just do that with controlling a few separate governments that have
That's too much work.
Oh, okay. I mean, fair enough, I guess.
In order to accomplish that, he has to have people believing in evolution. That's his theme. It's what he started off tricking Eve with.
It's the devil's theme, evolution.
Oh, I'm going to take a drink, given how many Christians already believe in evolution. It's most of them.
Yeah, but are those true Christians?
Yes. Yes, they are.
He said, you can be like God if you do what I say. And the whole idea that man can somehow be God started, of course, with Satan in the Garden of Eden.
I'm just going to take a drink for the idea that evolution is somehow a way to godhood, which, no. No, it's not. That is not how evolution works.
No, that's not how godhood works.
I do kind of like his tie, though. It's got sea turtles, and sea turtles are cool. Look, I miss Kent wearing ties because he had a good tie collection, and I'm not ashamed to admit to, like, point that out. Like, he had cool ties. And now he only wears Hawaiian shirts, and it's really boring. Goopdo3 for $5 says they're only Ica stones if they're from the Ica region of France. Otherwise, they're sparkling behemoths. It's true. Well, I mean, it's kind of true. It's thematically true. Literally, not so much, but yeah.
And he's used that same lie all through history. And why let up? It's worked great, and it's still going on here toward the end of time.
Has it worked great, though? Because, like, Christianity is the largest religion, both by just raw numbers and, like, also by, like, parts of the world where you can find it as a prominent religion. I mean, I don't know. I feel like Satan's only doing kind of okay on the whole let's crush Christianity department, if that's his goal.
Yeah, he's working on it. It's going to take some time.
Yeah, eventually.
Teaching everybody that man can be like God. So, dinosaurs are one of his favorite tools to use because he can use dinosaurs and teach 4-year-olds about evolution. Kids that can't even read yet. Get a bunch of 4-year-olds together and hold up some dinosaurs and ask them the question, when did dinosaurs live? Instantly they will shout out, millions of years ago.
I mean, I don't currently know any 4-year-olds. Maybe. It's almost like, no. This is basically the exact same thing as when flat earthers complain about how all the kids are being indoctrinated into the globe earth belief in school. Dude, they're just being taught the scientific consensus. If you want kids in school to be taught something other than scientific consensus, it's on you to actually change the scientific consensus. It's not on you to just be like, well, I don't think they should be taught that. Great. No one cares. They're going to be taught the scientific consensus, whether it be the globe earth or the ancient earth or evolution or that dinosaurs that aren't birds, as far as we can tell, went extinct 66 million years ago. Now, if he says 65, we're going to say that's fine, because at the time this was made, that was in fact the general estimate that was given was 65 plus or minus a bit. Now we've honed in a bit more. Now it's 66 plus or minus, like, I think only a few 100,000 years. So Savage Shanghai Job Cobra says, now Eric has a great tie collection. Oof, yeah. For those of you who don't know, while Kent was in prison, he put Eric Hovind in charge of his entire ministry. Eric then set up his own ministry and sold literally everything that Kent had owned, because remember, in order to help him dodge taxes, he put everything he owned into the ministry's name. Eric sold all that crap to himself for like $1. And when Kent got out of prison, he owned literally nothing. He tells a story about, he was like, what about this pen, son? I've owned this pen for 20 years. Whose is it? And Eric's was like, that's Creation Today's pen, which is the name of his ministry. And it was all above board because Kent transferred everything he owned. I don't know if I can emphasize this enough. His clothes, his vehicles, his land, his furniture, his clothing, his stationery. He transferred all of it to Creation Science Evangelism. And then Eric sold the entirety of Creation Science Evangelism's assets to Creation Today. And it's freaking hilarious.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
And they don't even know what millions is. But they've already been brainwashed because of the TV, because of the books like this one. I can read about dinosaurs. A book for little kids. First sentence says, millions of years ago. Same.
He's so offended by that.
He is. And also, I'm a little bit offended by this because this is a really bad book. For instance, sauropods didn't live in swamps. They would have drowned because it turns out they were so big that just the water pressure from being mostly submerged would have made it so they couldn't inflate their lungs. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Rough.
Thing in Ukraine. They teach this over there using dinosaurs. Millions of years ago. Every country I've gone to, I see the same thing in the kids' books.
Every country I go to, they keep teaching the kids about the globe Earth. Damn globe heads.
Satan's got a hold of all those textbooks.
Oh, man. What's next? Are they going to teach them the heliocentric model of the solar system, Kent?
That's not
Not cool at all.
sacrilegious.
We all know the Earth is a flat pizza that's the center of the universe. Because not only does the Bible imply that, but also, what are you just going to believe NASA lies like we believe paleontology lies? Get out of here. Vishanti for $2 says, Kent quite literally got owned. Yeah, that's the most literal ownage that I've ever seen of anyone. Oh, man. At the time, I kind of felt bad for him, but that's because I knew less about Kent Hovind than I do now. And, yeah, I have no sympathy anymore. He deserves every bad thing that ever happens to him at this point.
Yeah.
They use dinosaurs to teach them evolution. Here's a Dr. Seuss book. Millions of years before you were born. Down in the bottom right-hand corner. Well, now, just hold on a minute. Is the Earth millions of years old? Well, of course, we know it's not.
Yeah, it is. We'll just take a drink.
Of course, we know it is.
Yep.
But all the books on dinosaurs, nearly all of them that I see, say millions of years ago, dinosaurs roamed the Earth.
DM, what you Sapplewing, aka DM Fwing, asks me if I've gotten my USGS check this month yet. No, it's late, and I don't know why. Because for those of you who don't know, I'm a USGS shill. You know, I'm shilling for big geology.
And it's really tragic, I think, that we have allowed this to happen in the last 150 years. What happened? In 1841, when they made up the word dinosaur, many people at that time were teaching the Earth is millions of years old, and it's the same. Several things happened simultaneously.
Actually, we're going to take a drink. That's true. When the word dinosaur was invented, geologists had already determined that the Earth had to at least be millions of years old. And we'll talk about why that is. So, basically, they started looking at real-world examples of sediment deposition and lithification, right? So it would say things like, okay, what kind of rock do we see forming in this river as it deposits sand or silt or, you know, whatever? Okay, well, how fast can we see it accumulating? Okay, well, then we can also look and say, okay, well, if it accumulates at this rate and we dig down and it turns to rock at about this depth, we can figure out, okay, how long does that mean that it probably takes for the sediment to turn into rock? Okay, then we look at a similar formation with that kind of rock in it. How thick is it? What's our estimates for deposition rates? Add that up. Do that for a whole sequence in one place, and then you find out that, like, at minimum, it would take you millions of years to build up the sedimentary rock in most places on Earth. So, if it would take millions of years to build up the sediment, how long does there have to have been around for that sediment to get there? Well,
I know.
Oh.
At least millions of years.
Yeah. So, the option of 6,000 years was just known to be physically impossible unless God's a liar. So, you can go with God's a liar, or you can go with, even without radiometric dating, the Earth is at minimum a few tens of millions of years old. Minimum. All right. Oh, by the way, in case anyone doesn't know, the Sal Bitchmade timer is until Sal watches the Sal's Pal series or the Sal's Pal movie, or I just get tired of it, Bitch made timer stays up because he said he would, then didn't, then pretended to respond to those videos without ever having watched them.
That's baffling.
Yeah, it's a series of what I would consider bad calls, especially the making response videos to a series he didn't even watch. So, yeah.
Weird.
The invention of the geologic column, which we'll get into on seminar part 4, the idea that the layers of Earth are different age. Darwin's theory, 1859, dinosaurs being discovered in the early 1800s, and people not knowing where to put them. Here's these massive reptiles are being found, the bones of them, and the average Christian or average layman didn't know how to put them in history. And so it was Satan's golden opportunity to come in and say, they lived millions of years ago. And
so, this is what I wonder about this, right? Because you get young Earth creationists who will attribute certain positions in scientific fields to Satan. Does Satan have like a special hotline to the world's universities? Is there like a little red Satan phone in the paleontology department? Like, how does this actually work, right? Like, is it actually just like the bat phone in the, Adam West TV show where like there's a little red phone and Commissioner Gordon picks it up and he's like, Batman. And then Adam West tells him like, oh, the egghead is attacking the docks with waffles. And then Commissioner Gordon says, oh no, what are you going to do? And he'll say something like, I'm going to get my bat syrup and we'll eat the waffles. So that way they're no longer a danger to the docks. Come on, Robin, let's go. But in this case, it's Satan saying like, the professor picks up the phone, head of the department, is like, Satan, but today we're going to tell people that dinosaurs lived 72 million years ago and that therefore Christianity is false. And the professor was probably going to say things like, well, why does that make Christianity false? And Satan will say, doesn't matter. We're just going to do it. And then the professor's like, okay. This is less fun than the bat waffles, but okay. And then he just hangs up. Is that how it works? Does Satan possess the major players in every scientific field, essentially? Because that's what would have to happen for him to be responsible for this. Like, who's actually the ones?
Just the head of the Department of Education.
Like, in what country, though? Like, all of them?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that seems weird. But he's not in control of what goes in the journals. He's just in control of, like, public education.
I don't know how it works either.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, it's a black phone, obviously, says Vishanti. Good point. Yeah, it would be a black phone. But I thought the black phone was how the ghosts of previous victims called you. See, now I'm confused.
I don't know. It depends on how dark the phone is.
Mm.
Christians, instead of fighting it, swallowed it and accepted it.
Imagine that. Christians taking evidence and saying, well, I guess this is what the evidence shows. I'll believe it. Crazy. I'm just going to take a drink for how...
That's nuts.
That's not something to complain about. Christians should look at evidence and accept it. That's what you call a good thing.
There are some Christians today that accept it and teach the same thing. And they try to make dinosaurs millions of years ago fit into the Bible. And it just doesn't fit. They try to, with the gap theory and all that stuff we went through before. Here we come to Job chapter 40.
Does the Bible says, even talk about dinosaurs other than birds?
No, not other than birds.
Okay, so Kent's just lying.
I mean, what else is new?
Right?
Yep.
This animal, behemoth, lieth under the shady trees in the covert of the reed and fen.
Didn't we just do this last time as well?
I think so.
Oh, good.
Covered it a couple of times.
Fens is an Old English word that means the swamp.
Mm-hmm.
Behemoth lives in the swamp.
That's true.
Well, the largest swamp in the world today is in the central part of Africa. It's called the Likawala Swamp. So that'd be a good...
We just did this. He's going to say it's as big as Florida, which is not that surprising since Florida is basically just already a swamp.
Good quiz question. What's the largest swamp in the world? The Likawala Swamp is over 55,000 square miles. That makes it larger than the entire state of Arkansas. Okay. Arkansas is 53,000 square miles. The state of Florida is 55,000 square miles. So is Illinois and Iowa. Each of those three states...
Oh, hey, last time we didn't get this slide. And I complained about that fact. I was like, hey, editor, when Kent is talking about a slide, you should put it up. But at least he did it this time. And actually, I suspect the editor is just Kent. I don't know that he would, actually hire an editor. Although he might be able to get an editor to do it for free, which is just gross.
He'll take volunteers.
States are about the same size. That swamp is as big as any one of those states. It's huge. Most Americans don't understand the size of Africa, so here's a map showing Africa and America together. It is just simply gigantic. That swamp is bigger than any one of those yellow states on our map here, the same size as the three red ones. In 1885, Belgium, right next to France, Belgium came down and colonized the Congo. In the late 1800s,
I like the word colonized. It seems so innocuous. Like, they set up a few cities. What's the big deal? If I were to tell you what actually happened in the Belgian Congo, I might have my channel shut down for repeated violations of the community guidelines. Feel free to look it up, but only if you have a strong stomach.
Yikes.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds quite violent.
Yeah. Let's just say that one of the punishments for falling behind on harvesting rubber was non-medically supervised amputation. Yeah.
many advanced countries, for lack of a better word, were colonizing other countries. That's a nice way of saying they were hiring their people for a nickel a day to get all their gold and minerals and diamonds.
No, Kid, that's a nice way to put it. There were no nickels a day. There was, you suffer horrible mutilation if you don't harvest enough of whatever it is we need. But on the bright side, we shut down the slave trade coming from the Middle East. Yay! Because that's a huge improvement. Could have done that without the other thing, but okay.
Yeah. That's too bad.
Yeah.
They were robbing these countries of all their valuables and enslaving them, basically. But they called it colonization.
I mean, at least he's not just going like all-out pro-colonization, colonialism kind of thing. So I'll give Kent some credit there, because honestly, if you would ask me whether or not Kent would be critical of colonialism at all, I probably would have predicted no, that he'd be all for it.
Mm.
He'd be like, oh no, we're going to civilize all those savages. That's what my guess would have been. But Kent has exceeded expectations there, so you know what, we'll take a quick drink for that, because it's not often that I can say that Kent isn't taking the worst take possible. And in this case,
Right.
He's not. Yeah, I would have expected Kent to be like, oh yeah, Belgian Congo was great. No problems.
Anyway, the Belgians ruled this country for about 75 years. And as some of the older folks will remember, when you were in school, they taught you about the Belgian Congo. This was the name of this country, Belgian Congo, until 1960, when the communists went in there and liberated them. You know how the communists liberate a country. You know how they liberated Ukraine, killed 10 million people and said, okay, you're free now. But
I'm just going to take a drink. Kent, things aren't great in the Congo. They're better than they were under the Belgians.
the communists liberated them, and now it's called People's Republic of Congo. But for 75 years, it was called the Belgian Congo. Explorers from Belgium and other countries went into that swamp. After all, they'd taken over this territory, let's see what we have here. Looking for gold and diamonds or whatever. In 1910, this article appeared in the New York Herald. Is a Brontosaurus roaming Africa's wilds?
I like how the pictured animal has weird horns and doesn't at all look like a Brontosaurus. But that's not Kent's fault, so I'm not going to take a drink for it.
That's a bad picture.
Yeah.
Now, at this time, the Brontosaurus had just been discovered before that. There were two groups, a guy named Cope, C-O-P-E, and a guy named Marsh, M-A-R-S-H. They were two fossil hunters that were in competition with each other. And they had crews that would go out all over scouring the West trying to find dinosaur bones and dig them out and bring them back and put them together in museums. They each worked for different museums. I think one was for Harvard and one was for American Museum in New York or something like that. Anyway.
Paleologos points out that Kent just took a drink with us. It's true. Also, we're going to take one for Kent being basically right about the Bone Wars. I mean, he's giving a decent summary of what they were. which means it's time for me to open up my second beer.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So while we do that, I'm kind of surprised just how much overlap there is between the end of the last video and the beginning of this one, because like normally we actually just get different topics, but also I'm impressed that this time we're more or less on topic, because normally the title that these talks have bears only the vaguest resemblance to anything said in them. It's usually just Kent rambles about whatever comes into the stream of his consciousness for like, you know, a bit over an hour, and then it just kind of ends. So I'm actually impressed that we're sort of on topic. Although I'm a little disappointed that we're doing so much of a rehash of last time. But, you know, it is what it is. Okay. Oh, for $2, DM One Uses Half a Wing, aka DM Wing, says communism is a red herring. Kent. Yeah, Kent likes to just treat communists as like a punching bag for anything that they're associated with, as if everything every communist ever done was bad. And look, I'm not a very big fan of any actual real-world communist regimes out there, but not every communist that's ever done anything has like ruined the world or something. So yeah. Also, a lot of the countries that people now think of as communist aren't really communist in any like significant sense of the word. Oh, did I miss a reference? I probably did. That's like just like me. Tirirana tunic pelagicate. Christ official per se. Jeez, you guys are gonna kill me. Who's been a member for a month, is at the tetrapod level, says responsa in genocide saculi cauda sunt, which of course is AIG is a bag of, well, tails, but that's a euphemism. Although also using the plural for sunt. Interesting choice. I'm okay with it because AIG is a collection of people. Savage, behold the banana cobra. Goodness. For $5 says AIG is a Florida-sized and smelling bag of Ray Comfort's favorite fruit. Mr. Banana Man, we'll take a drink for that one. Goodness. Man, I love all the names.
They had this tremendous competition to go out and look for these dinosaur bones to put them in the museums. They got in a hurry to put one together, put together this big dinosaur they found, but it didn't have a head. So some guy got a head from 4.5 miles away, brought it in, they stuck it on the dinosaur, and called it a Brontosaurus.
Okay, so one of the things that Kent is not being clear about, and I don't know if it's because he doesn't know any better. Of course he doesn't know any better. It's Kent Hovind. So Brontosaurus was not described on the basis of this museum reconstruction, right? When you look at paleontology papers, oh, excuse me, I had a little burp there from all this beer. What they do is they actually only describe the new organism on the basis of the bones or whatever other remains are actually found, right? And then they will hire a artist or something to make sculptures or paintings or whatever, and they'll put them in the paper, but that's mostly just as like set dressing, as decoration, right? Same thing with this mount. If you actually look at the description of Brontosaurus, it doesn't include the Camarasaurus head that was attached to it inappropriately. It only contains the actual bits that were found. So it's inaccurate to say that what happened was that on the basis of this bad reconstruction, that Brontosaurus was described as an animal that didn't exist. What actually happened was a description was made of the bones that were actually found, just those, not the Camarasaurus bones or any other bones that were hypothetically reconstructed, and it was named Brontosaurus. But earlier, a dinosaur called Apatosaurus had already been described, and it became the consensus that Apatosaurus and Brontosaurus, while probably being two species, were too similar to justify the two different genera. And so because Apatosaurus had been described first, it got priority, because the rule of thumb is any time that you have two different taxa that are actually one, the name that you stick with is the first name that was published, which is Apatosaurus. Now, later, there was more studies done on more complete Apatosaurus and Brontosaurus material, and it was determined and then accepted as a consensus that, in fact, they probably were different enough to warrant two generic names, And so Brontosaurus was resurrected as a valid taxon, which is how it stands now. At the time of this recording, Brontosaurus was not a valid taxon, and Apatosaurus was, and so the animal is properly referred to as Apatosaurus. But in popular parlance, Brontosaurus kind of stuck around because it's a fun name, as sort of a common name. Now, for $5, So Suave says, AIG is a collection of your mom's secret toys. Goodness. I'll take a drink to that. And then not think about my mom's secret toys.
Most of the dinosaur names come from Latin words. Brontosaurus is thunder lizard.
Pretty sure that's Greek, but okay.
From Latin. And they said he was so big when he walked the ground would shake, you know. They called him the thunder lizard, Brontosaurus. Many years later, they discovered it was the wrong head.
No, they always knew it was the wrong head. It was never considered to be the appropriate head. They just didn't have one. And turns out it was a very inaccurate head to use, and by the way, because Brontosaurus was not a macronarian, unlike Camarasaurus, which is a macronarian. And so they have very different heads. But yeah, it was never thought to be the right head.
There never was a Brontosaurus.
Oh, I'm just going to take a drink for him getting this so badly wrong. It's not that they found out that the animal they thought they had didn't exist, Kent. It's that they decided it was too similar to the already described Apatosaurus. And this is not hard to figure out, right? Like, any source that tries to describe this to you, even creationist sources, I would imagine, will probably be able to get this right. Now, Carrie Bronson has just gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. So we will take 5 drinks after I read out the names of the new members. James Duncan, Alex Markle, Cross-Platform Adventures, Olivia Kaufman, and Landon Knoll were all gifted memberships, which means, unlike what Vijanti is doing, you guys should send Cecil tunicates and tetrapods. Nope, you guys are doing it wrong. The Gay Bead, Fear, Call the Copyright Monger, doing it wrong. But we'll take a drink. We'll take 5 drinks, actually. 1, 2. Bet. How dare you?
It wasn't me.
It says your name right there.
Someone else's name.
3, 4, and 5. And then Icarus points out Bronti for thunder, and Savros, Saurus for lizard. Yeah, Greek. Yeah, not Latin. As it turns out, guys, in case you weren't aware, because maybe you're a Kent Hovind fan, Greek and Latin, while related, are not the same language.
What?
Yeah, it turns out if you speak, say, like, fluent Latin, that does not actually mean that you can understand Greek, whether ancient or modern.
Is that why Latin and Greek are 2 different words?
Yeah, that's
not the same word? Okay.
Exactly, yeah.
That would make sense then.
Pretty cool, huh?
That's neat. It's a new trick I learned about how to tell if words are the same or not. Just compare them.
Yeah. Is it the same word? No, then it probably refers to something else. Usually,
Probably.
Yeah. Not always, but usually.
They had the body of a Diplodocus.
DM What Uses Half a Wing, aka DM Wing, asks how related. So it's... I don't know how to answer that question, right? Because it's like, how related are English and German? I don't know. They're both West Germanic languages. But basically, when you are looking at Indo-European languages, there's a division that's usually between sort of the Western, like European and Greek, and maybe like Anatolian Indo-European languages, and the Eastern ones that starts like in Persia and goes all the way into India. And Latin and Greek are more close related than just both being Western Indo-European languages, but it's not clear exactly how long ago like the common ancestor of those 2 languages were spoken. But they're more closely related to each other, it seems, than maybe either one was to like the Celtic languages or the Germanic languages. So, but that being said, it's still pretty hard to figure out because, you know, this is way back when there was a common ancestor language spoken. And a Star You for $4.99 says, AIG is an exhibit of scrotum humanum. Nice. We'll take a drink for that. In case you guys don't know, I'm going to tell you what scrotum humanum is. Basically, it was the distal end of a dinosaur femur that kind of looked like, well, A scrotum. A human scrotum. And so the first person who described it was like, maybe this is just a petrified giant human scrotum. And so it was called Scrotum humanum. And it turns out, no. No, it wasn't. But yeah, it's amusing nonetheless. All right, here we go.
And the head of an apatosaurus.
No, it was the head of a Camarasaurus. If it had actually been the head of an apatosaurus, that would have been pretty darn accurate.
It's not a big mistake. I mean, it's sort of like putting together bones of a dog, and you don't have a head. Say you put together the bones of a Chihuahua, and you find you don't have a head, so you put the head on there from a Great Dane.
No, that an apatosaurus versus a Brontosaurus would be more like, let's see. Like, you didn't have the skull of an English bulldog, so you used an American bulldog on your English bulldog. It's like, it's not right, but yeah. But what actually happened was that it was a Camarasaurus, which is more like bolting the head of a lion onto your dog skeleton.
Well, they're both dogs, but there's no such thing as a great Chihuahua. So,
that was a joke that didn't land. We'll take a drink.
There's no such thing as a Brontosaurus. It was a mix-up, but it's okay.
No, it wasn't a mix-up, and yes, there is, but there wasn't at the time.
Okay to use the term. If you watch Fred Flintstone, you know, he drives a Brontosaurus, and they eat Bronto burgers, and that's all from the Brontosaurus. So in 1910, they did not know about the mistake yet. It had just been put together, I think, in...
Had says, isn't S. humanum the prior name? No, because it was not actually proposed as an actual binomial, because basically, one, that's insufficient to describe an entire new genus, and two, that was actually just a label for what the specimen was supposed to be. It was supposed to be an actual human scrotum. It's just that it was described in Latin. So it was misattributed to the species Homo sapiens, which means that the first time that it was actually described as a genus and species, that is what gets priority. So no, Scrotum humanum would not get it. And also, there is a rule that was created just for Tyrannosaurus rex, by the way, that says that if the scientific community has exclusively been using a particular name for enough time, that name gets to be the official name, even if another name technically has priority. And it was made specifically because someone found, like 50 years afterwards, oh, hey, this paper is describing what we've been calling Tyrannosaurus rex, and it was published earlier than the initial description of Tyrannosaurus rex. That name isn't actually valid. And basically, everyone was like, no, we're not changing the name of Tyrannosaurus rex. And so they invented a new rule just to save Tyrannosaurus rex from being renamed.
And that's a pretty popular dinosaur with the kids.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it would have been really weird to change the name of Tyrannosaurus rex, one of the most famous dinosaurs.
Very difficult for Satan to deal with.
Oh, yeah. Satan would have been so screwed. Which means maybe Tyrannosaurus rex is actually a satanic conspiracy.
We're at that level with Kent.
Well,
that's it.
Remember that guy who was like, there's a satanic conspiracy to hide, like, the existence of the slow loris and the giraffe and caribou. And I'm just like, what is happening?
They're not hidden very well.
No, they're not. They're like in every zoo. Oh, man. That guy was crazy.
Yes.
1890 or something like that. And it was several years before they discovered it was the wrong head. So this article came out.
No, they always knew it was the wrong head. I'm taking another drink. Like, you don't have to get this wrong, Kent. Nothing about getting this right would be a problem for you or your beliefs. You could just get it right. Instead, nope, you gotta get it wrong. But after taking that drink, we are gonna go on to an intermission real quick. Time to get a new beer. We're gonna, I don't know, maybe do some biology stuff real quick. And we will be right back, but in the meantime, you will once again be serenaded by the musical stylings of one Bent Hovind. That guy in the pink tutu, which...
That's me.
We could have another Pink Tutu episode at the end of the month, but that's up to you guys. All right, we will be right back after these messages. Yeah, I guess it'll be messages. I don't know. Okay, we are back. Welcome back, Bent.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
How was your break?
It was great.
Did you do anything cool, travel or anything?
I urinated, so that was fun.
Oh, nice. Well, that's
Yeah.
important. All right, well, guys, we are back. We're going to do our post-break, quick little commercial plug, if you will. Guys, this channel is almost entirely supported by things like your super chats, your memberships, you joining the Patreon, stuff like that, right? The ad revenue is around 8 or so % of what keeps this channel going. It's almost entirely you guys. Now, there are a number of ways to help out. First, yeah, just super chatting, super thanks, buying people memberships always helps. If you want new a new emoji, we're still a fair bit away from one of those. I'm gonna double check and see what YouTube says, although they like to lie about it. Let's see. We are currently, I'm gonna click this button here. Yeah, we're like 57 away from a new emoji. So even though people have been suggesting emojis like a scrotum humanum emoji, we are quite a ways away from that. So, but on the other hand, there's also the Patreon. Both the membership and the Patreon get you early access to all the videos that I make. There's one right now that's rendering on Sheepit. A little later, I'm going to tell you how, if you want to help with that, you can help with that. But there's usually like 4 to 5 months of early access for each video. There's other perks in there, like you can get your name in the credits. At certain levels, I'll say your name in the credits as I'm reading up my outro. There's other stuff in there too, like you can gain access to some .blend files. At higher levels, you can request videos, and as long as they're reasonably on topic for the channel, I'll make them. There's a lot of options there. Patreon also gives you a 12% discount if you join for a year rather than monthly. And they're both great ways to support the channel, but if that's not your thing, if you don't want to do a subscription, whether it be monthly or annual, there are other options. There's a merch store linked in the description, both for me and... sorry, there's a Patreon for both me and Bent, but there's a merch store just for me linked in the description. There's also an Amazon wishlist for both me and Bent if you want to just, buy us a quick little thing just to help out. But also, if that's not for you, if supporting via a financial contribution isn't what you want to do, like the video, share the video, comment on my videos, and also watch more than one of my videos in a row. If there's a whole series, watch the whole series. If you want to watch one of the long form, the movie versions, maybe watch 2. It really helps with the engagement and the algorithm. Because while this month has been better than last month, it's still hard to get and stay in that algorithm. It likes to just dump you. Now, if, like I said, we have something, a video rendering right now, if you would like to help with video rendering, one of the things you can do is that there's, at the bottom of the description of this video, there's a how to render for me. Basically, it uses up some of your computer's resources to render for me if you have a internet connection. And even if you don't render my frames, it still helps, because the way that this render farm works is whenever anyone renders on my behalf, whether me or anyone else, it adds to my total pool of points. How fast my renders get assigned to other people is dependent on how many points I have when I start the render. And each frame of mine that is rendered by someone else costs me those points, which lowers me in the standings of who's going to be able to render next. So the more points I have, the faster I can get my stuff rendered. And also, if you do render my frames, well, that's just directly increasing the speed at which my frames come out. And the faster my frames get rendered, the faster I can edit my videos and render them out finally, the faster they can get to you. So that's another way to help out the channel if you want. Now, it will take up some computer resources, and it will slightly increase your electric bill by about the same amount as like running a video game. So, I'm not going to pretend it's completely free, but it's also probably not something you'd notice too much. Now, we have had a few things come in, one of which is that Savage, Behold the Banana Cobra, has gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. They went to Borg Emporia, Dude, BDR, Al Trucker, My Infinite Journey, and Ember. So let's take 5 drinks. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. I think that puts us like 47 or something away from another emoji. Let's see. Also, Hillhugger for $5 redos says there was a man from Pensacola who lied so much it would fold you. He said, "Listen here, but you'd bleed from the ear, so you don't blame me because I told you." Oh, sorry. So don't blame me because I told you.
I like it.
Nice. It's always fun to get a limerick. And Carrie Bronson for $5 says, ICR is a half-used package of cocktail weenies, which is to say, an inferior copy of AIG. Nice. Take a drink for that, too. All right. Let's get in a little bit more Kent.
Out and said, is a Brontosaurus roaming Africa's wilds? This is in the New York newspaper. Because so many people had gone in there and come out saying, you know, we saw a dinosaur in there, still alive. Now, I think the Lord always has his witness and his testimony in things. And here we have people, scientists and teachers all over the world teaching, you know, dinosaurs lived millions of years ago in the early 1900s. And persistently, these rumors start popping up and dinosaurs still living. Just to give, you know, the Christians some hope that, hey, maybe the Bible is indeed the Word of God and it's right.
How would that do that?
Imaginarily.
You know how I know the Bible's true? Because there's a Brontosaurus in the Congo.
If someone found a Brontosaurus, Kent would assume that disproves evolution.
And somehow is evidence for the truth of the Bible? I'm just taking a drink. I cannot follow that.
That's how he would interpret that, because he doesn't understand evolution.
Or the Bible.
Or math or science.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's great. God kept the Brontosaurus alive in the Congo just so that Christians could look at it and be like, well, because some people have claimed to see a Brontosaurus in the Congo, turns out Genesis is literal history after all, guys. Finger guns. Oh, okay. Sure.
48. This article appeared in the Saturday Evening Post. Now, the Saturday Evening Post was a major magazine in the early 40s and late 40s, sort of like Time magazine or National Geographic or something like that.
He actually said National Geographic. He usually says National Pornographic. I'm impressed.
He usually does.
This article is three pages about dinosaurs still living. It goes through people who've gone in there and say, look, I saw one. Gives their testimonies in this article, January 3rd edition of Saturday Evening Post back from 1948. By the way, if anybody can get me an original copy of this, what I have...
By the way, because I always do, I'm going to comment on these feet, and they're terrible. Whenever I see sauropods, the first thing I look at is, how are the feet? And the answer is almost always terrible.
Found one at a library where they actually had the original magazine, 1948 Saturday Evening Post. And I photocopied the pages out of there, and it was a very lousy photocopy, so all I have is a lousy copy of the original. I would like to find somebody who has an original and buy it off them.
You know what, Kent? That's better than you usually do with sources, which is usually just, here's this guy's phone number. Why don't you call him? It's like, oh, okay.
So if you come across one, let me know. A South African big game hunter named Mr. Gobbler, good name for a game hunter, I suppose, returned from a trip to Angola and announced to the Cape Town newspaper that...
Yeah, I think it was. I didn't even notice it was a joke. Yeah, good point. We'll take a drink for it. Which actually means it's close to time for the third beer.
Ooh.
Yeah, if anyone gifted more memberships, I would definitely have to finish this beer and open a new one.
The Cape Argus was the name of the paper. That there was an animal of...
A Star You for $9.99 says, there was a business named AIG who said science... Sorry, I'll start over because I screwed it up. There once was a business named AIG, worse at science than my cousin Craig. Their coffers were full of flatworms, is true, so don't listen when they beg. Nice. And yeah, well, we'll take a drink for that. We'll take a drink. Yeah, thank you very much.
Large dimensions, the description of which could only fit a dinosaur, dwelling in the Dololo swamps, and known to the natives as the Chippewa. It has the head and tail of a lizard. Ivan Sanderson, who wrote the article that we mentioned earlier, There Could Be Dinosaurs, from the Saturday Evening Post. This quote is from that article. Ivan Sanderson was quite an explorer and collector of sightings like this and stories. And he really has some amazing reports he's done on this. And again, we could spend the rest of my lifetime talking about reports of dinosaurs still living. So I want you to research it for yourself if you want. Go to 001.9, or if it's the Library of Congress.
Did Kent just tell us to do our own research like he's a flat earther?
Basically.
Okay, cool. It's amazing how much he sounds like a flat earther. And also, have you ever heard Kent defend the globe? I don't think the video exists anymore after his channel got nuked by YouTube. But at one point, he was like, oh, let's talk about all this flat earth nonsense. And he had no arguments. All he had was like, you're just stupid if you think the earth is flat. Come on, we all know it's a globe. Okay, Kent. It's good to know that you also can't defend the idea that the earth is flat, because you don't know anything.
You would lose a debate, flat earth debate.
Oh, absolutely. Yep, I'm very confident that if Kent went up against basically any flat earther, he would lose. Because at least they have arguments. They're not good arguments, but they're arguments.
Arguments he would not be able to rebut.
No, because he doesn't know any of the arguments that show that the Earth is a globe. Nor does he know enough about science to refute the arguments that they use to try to pretend that it's not a globe.
QL89, like Queen and then Larry 89, and you will find books on this topic, okay? People in Central African Republic call it Nguri. That's their name for it.
I love the Central African Republic because it's such a generic name. It's like the off-brand cereal of countries. Like, this isn't Cocoa Puffs. This is chocolate corn puffs. Oh, okay, cool.
Okay, in a bag.
Yeah, in a bag. It's like, why visit a name brand African country when you can visit Central African Republic? The discount African country.
Different missionaries that I meet all over the world tell me, oh yeah, we've got one of those in our country. The natives talk about it. But they all, of course, have a different name for it. In some parts...
Yeah, it turns out people don't speak the same language everywhere. Who'd have thunk?
Parts of Africa, in the swamp, as you travel around, they will speak a different language. Some people call these creatures Chippewa, some call it Yalama. They have different regional names for it, depending on their vocabulary. Well, Dr. Roy Mackal from the University of Chicago decided to go to the swamp. He had been involved in studying cryptozoology for many years.
Hence, he's a crank.
And he'd read all these stories of dinosaurs still living. And he was a microbiology professor at the University of Chicago. He said, well, a good scientist, and you hear something, you check it out.
Yeah. And how much evidence has been proposed or has been produced that Mokele-mbembe actually exists?
None evidence?
Yeah, that's correct.
I was guessing.
Well, you guessed right.
Yeah.
Because it turns out anecdotes, no matter how many you have of them, not data when it comes to science. Or data. But that's not my name.
So, thankfully he was honest enough to say, okay, I don't think it's true, but let's go check it out. Now,
maybe he's a little bit less of a crank then.
You have to understand, if you got a bunch of scientists together and said, let's go to the North Pole and look for Santa Claus.
Oh, apparently the Onion Atlas made the same joke about Central African Republic being generic brand. It had a picture of a zebra whose stripes spelled zebra. That's good. I like that.
What's going on in their mind? Why spend all that money? We know it can't be true. It's a waste of money.
A hillhugger who's been a member for 10 months is at the tetrapod level says, a man from the Congo saw a dinosaur playing bingo or bongo. That would be interesting. I would like to hear a story about a dinosaur playing the bongo in the Congo.
That would be good.
And not just because of the rhyme.
That's exactly the way many scientists feel when you say, let's go to Africa and look for living dinosaurs. Because in their mind, it's already been settled. We know dinosaurs lived millions of years ago. Why waste all that money and go look for them?
No, that's not why. The reason why is because there's never actually any compelling physical evidence of their existence. But that's not the case generally, right? There are two really big examples of things that we might have called cryptids until they were discovered. One is the gorilla, and the other one is the okapi, right? There had been reports of these really big apes and these really big, weird, stripy, giraffe, horsey kind of things. And most scientists were like, I don't know, but maybe. And then they checked, and you know what they found? Gorillas and okapis. They actually found them. But when you go looking for whether it be like Mapinguari in South America or Bigfoot in North America or Mokele-mbembe in the jungles of the Congo or the Yetis in the Himalayas or whatever, or Mongolian deathworms in Mongolia, you never find them. And the thing is, he's also like, oh, scientists just dismiss this out of hand, except for this one that I'm just talking about who decided to go check it out. So which is it, Kent? Did a real scientist go check this out and then be like, nah, doesn't seem to be a thing? Or are scientists just like, oh, we're not going to check it out at all? You can't have it both ways, buddy. And yeah, not every scientist is going to drop everything to go find Mokele-mbembe, even if they do think there's a reasonable chance that it's true.
Can't be true. So their teaching, their philosophy of evolution hinders them even thinking down this track that there could be some still alive.
Nope, literally nothing about evolution would prevent dinosaurs from surviving. There just isn't any evidence of it, except for birds. So take a drink. Which means it's time for cerveza número 3.
Thanks. Bueno.
See. Okay. Let's see. TD Lane says, does Ken even know how scarce money is for researchers, especially PhD students? No, because the thing is, he seems to think that Satan is in charge of that, and that apparently Satan has deep pockets, is what I'm going to go with. Just, Satan has all the money to send for people to go look for Mokele-mbembe, but he doesn't want to, because somehow finding Mokele-mbembe would prove that the Bible is true somehow, because somewhere in the Bible, apparently, it says, behold now, Mokele-mbembe in the Congo, a place that otherwise the Bible doesn't seem to know exists, because literally everything in it takes place in and around the Mediterranean, and not too far west of Rome either. So, yeah.
Because of what they've been taught. Okay, so anyway, Roy Mackal did go with James Powell.
Okay, also in Mesopotamia, to be fair.
I believe his name was, a crocodile expert, and they went to the Lakwala Swamp. This is from the book Time, Life, Mysterious Creatures, part of the Time, Life series, one of the big books they have, showing a picture of them tromping through the swamp. They said it's the most miserable swamp in the world. Mosquitoes landed on them at the rate of 1,000 per hour the entire time they're there. Bloodthirsty mosquitoes, snakes, bugs.
I feel like that would have killed them.
Maybe.
Like, you can be exsanguinated by mosquitoes. It's a thing that can happen.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
You need to understand also, this is a communist country now.
Oh, no!
So the communists have gone back in there to these swampy areas and told the villagers, boy, if you ever see a white man, he's probably a communist, he's probably a spy against the communists, go ahead and kill him.
I'm going to need a citation on that one, Kent. Because, look, I can say a lot of things about communist regimes, but they very rarely have just a kill everyone of one race. That's more of a, fascist kind of a thing. Communism tends to be all about like, oh, hey, we don't care so much about races. We care about classes. Your class identity is what's important, not your racial identity. Plus, how is it that, like, random villagers are supposed to differentiate, say, Soviet scientists from American scientists? It's not like they're likely to speak either English or Russian. Who knows? I'm just going to take a drink for that. That's dumb. I don't think there's ever been a communist country, to my knowledge, that's been like, let's kill all the white people. Okay.
Very unsafe place to go.
It is unsafe, but mostly because it's, there's still a lot of wars and whatnot, because the strength of the state in the, Democratic Republic of the Congo, or the People's Republic of the Congo, or whatever it was called at the time, because, the borders and state names change a lot. Just basically very unstable, and the state has a lot of trouble maintaining the monopoly on violence. So That's why it's dangerous, not just because it's communist. There are other non-communist countries in the area that are just as dangerous for the same reason. They don't have a stable enough state. Diem, what uses Hapa Wing, aka Diem Wing, says communism is a reed. Is it a reed or a red herring?
Either or.
Kent. Nice. Should I have a communist ring trigger? Maybe.
Mark Miller went there and wrote a neat article about how he just about was killed by the pygmies.
Oh, the Gaby said it was the DRC was never communist. It was only ever the DRC and Zaire. I think you mean the People's Republic of the Congo, PRC, and Zaire. I don't know.
Because they thought he was some kind of spy. But in the book The Living Dinosaur, written by Roy Mackal, after going into the swamp, he tells about the Mahamba, the giant crocodile that the natives report that lives in the swamp that gets to 50 feet long.
Which, again, no evidence of.
Are crocodiles dinosaurs?
No, they are not. Despite what Dwight Schrute might have you believe. Or no, wait, sorry. What Robert California might have you believe.
He said alligators, but yeah.
Let's see. Someone... Pat says, is Kent pro or anti-Trophin Lysenko? He pretends that Trophin Lysenko just didn't exist because he likes to say the communists were big on evolution, even though the existence of Trophin Lysenko shows that that's a lie.
One group of scientists in I don't remember the date now, 1984, I believe, claims that they saw a Mahamba, a 50-foot crocodile. This room is 34 feet long, so that's a big crocodile.
Okay.
The natives talk about the animal called Mokele-mbembe.
You finally said it. We've been predicting it for 2 weeks. We'll take a drink. Oh, man. It took him 16 minutes into this video to get to Mokele-mbembe.
Which is their pronunciation of the creature. Mokele-mbembe means, I believe it means stopper of rivers.
So actually, there are conflicting reports about what this means, and it's hard to find out because none of the languages that are spoken in the area in question are terribly well documented in the sense of like easy to access source material for them, at least that you can read in English. But basically, I've heard things from like he who stops the river. I've heard things like it's just the word for rainbow, and the consensus among people who are familiar with these languages seems to be that this seems like it was just a name that was thought up and applied to this thing in a, not quite a scheme, but as like a little joke to play on silly white tourists who come in looking for creatures that don't exist. And there's reason to think that this is actually just basically a scam that the natives are running on stupid foreigners who are looking for cryptozoology stuff so that they can, get money and other goods that these somewhat dumb Westerners are bringing in. So they're just like, oh yeah, no, there's totally a Mokele-mbembe. If only I had a can of Coke and a few US dollars, I could probably tell you all about it. And it's like, oh, I have a Coke and a few US dollars, here you go. And it's like, oh, thanks. Well, so, let me tell you about Mokele-mbembe. Oh, yeah. Yeah, my brother got eaten by one. Yeah, it was great. No, wait, I mean, terrible. Yeah. Thanks for the money, thanks for the Coke. Thanks for the t-shirt or whatever. Yeah, it's, in my opinion, it is almost certainly a scam run by the natives on gullible white people who come into the Congo. And you know what? Good on them. Normally I'm against scams, but when it comes to scamming cryptozoologists by telling them silly stories about dinosaurs in the Congo, because they're too stupid to have critical thinking, go for it, man. Get as many dollars and as many Western imports as you can. Carrie Bronson for $5 says, there was once a fellow named Bent who had no relation to Kent. He wore a nice frill, the color of krill, and to him this limerick is sent.
Thank you.
That's very cool. I like it. I like that there's just people in the background apparently writing out limericks. Like, I've got the greatest audience. You guys are amazing.
It is the best.
Okay, here we go.
On page 225 of Mackel's book, he shows this sketch that he would show to the natives, and they would say, oh yeah, that's Mokele-mbembe. He lives out in the swamp. Mackel tells in his book how he tried, as a scientist, to make sure he wasn't leading the natives to answer a question.
Yeah, but man, they'd already been primed to answer these questions by previous foreigners. That's the thing. Oh, by the way, we're about 105 off from another tutu. We could do it.
Possible.
It's possible. Okay.
He would go to some villages and he would just mention the name. He would say, "What is Mokele-mbembe?"
Mm-hmm.
And they would draw a sketch on the ground with a stick, and they'd draw a picture of a dinosaur with a long neck and a long tail.
Okay, but the only way that this counts as not priming them is if the villages don't talk to each other. But why would you make that assumption? Villages in the Congo aren't just isolated communities that never interact with each other. If I go and visit, like, my cousin down in the next village, and he's like, "Oh, hey, so this white guy came by, and we told him this whole crazy story about Mokele-mbembe, and he gave us this book, and it looked like this, and let me draw it for you." So if they come by to your village, just tell them the same yarn, and then we can keep the scam going. We'll get some Western goods they bring with them. We'll get some money that we can use next time we go into a city or something, or to trade with the next Westerners who come through. Just keep it going. That's all it takes, right? And that can happen like wildfire. Because once one village gets a hold of this, then 2 or 3 people can go and spread it to 2 or 3 more villages, which can then go spread to 2 or 3 more villages. And it just grows exponentially. You could probably get this story about Mokele-mbembe that I don't actually know that anyone actually believes in the Congo to spread to basically every village in the matter of like a few months. I don't actually believe that this is even a cryptid that the people in the Congo believe in. I think this is mostly made up. A Starview for 1999 says, Godzilla would appreciate seeing Bent Hovind in a tutu later almost as much as a pelagic tunicate. Ugh, gross. I'll tell you what. Well, first we'll drink because there's a Godzilla.
Yeah.
I will... You guys can see pelagic tunicates on stream when you super chat. Memberships don't count. Super chat $1 million. That's the challenge. $1 million. All right, here we go.
Other villages, he would show them a picture and say, "What is this?" And they would say, "Oh, that's Mokele-mbembe." Now, it's a very superstitious region over there, and a friend of mine who was there Gene Thomas was there for 42 years. I just talked to him 3 days ago. He said, "Well, Hovind, you have to understand, the people here are very superstitious."
Oh, great, it's crashing.
And some of them believe that if you even mention the name Mokele-mbembe, you will die. So if a person goes into this area and says, "What about Mokele-mbembe?" they may say, "Oh, never heard of it," because they're afraid of dying for saying its name or for talking about it.
Cool. So give me a second while I bring it back up because it's crashed. That's always fun.
They're afraid to talk about it. That's why there's no evidence.
Right.
Just take their word on it.
Exactly.
Sometime.
Oh, it's just starting back over. That's always good.
Just been for American Museum in New York or something like that. Anyway, they had
1707.
They'll live its topic.
What I thought I
They're
saw.
by the 42
Oh,
years.
that
I just
far
talked to
into
him 3 days ago. He said, "Well, Hovind, you have to understand, the people here are very superstitious, and some of them believe that if you even mention the name Mokele-mbembe, you will die."
Okay.
So if a person goes into this area and says, "What about Mokele-mbembe?" they may say, "Oh, never heard of it."
Well, that's convenient for when you don't find evidence of this story. Steve Reno for $2 says, Mokele-mbembe mostly come out at night. Mostly. Nice. I love it. Man, I haven't seen that movie in forever. I should watch it again. It's such a good movie. Yeah, I love this. It's like, well, not all the villages know about Mokele-mbembe. Oh, well, they're probably just too scared to mention it because apparently it's Voldemort. Oh, okay, yeah, sure, why not? Mokele-mbembe is just Voldemort. What makes you say that? Well, I mean, they're superstitious. Okay, sure.
Because they're afraid of dying for saying its name or for talking about it, because they're very superstitious people. But Mako went there and spent a lot of money on 2 expeditions. He says the animals live underwater.
Vishanti, who's been a member for 23 months and is at the tetrapod level, says, I saw Mokele-mbembe once. once, Mothra, and we'll take a drink for Mothra. And also, I don't believe you, Vishanti. I don't think you ever saw Mokele-mbembe. Unless it was on that movie that's based on Mokele-mbembe. Was it like called The Last Dinosaur or something? You know, where the kid has like the little baby sauropod and he brings it to Africa.
Oh,
It's a thing. It's a movie. It's definitely a movie.
I believe you.
Robert Asset, who's been a member for 9 months and is at the amniote level, says, so we've gone from unevidenced to unfalsifiable. Yeah, well, I mean, that's pretty typical. Then sends 2 Mothras, but also 2 pelagic tunicates. Gross.
Oh, nice.
Ugh, gross. We'll take a drink, though, for Mothra. Not for pelagic tunicates. They don't get a drink.
No, we just celebrate.
I'm not 0 for 2 on movie references today. I'm like 2 for 4 at least. I got the Alien reference. No, Aliens reference, sorry. Just call it Alien 2. Although the next movie is called Alien Cubed for some reason, because they superscripted the 3. Look, the Alien franchise pioneered the current trend that I hate of never adding numbers to movies, so it's always confusing what order they go in. It's like Alien, Aliens, Alien Cubed, Alien Resurrection. Guys, just put numbers.
Most of the time, they're mostly active at night, which makes them even harder to see, obviously.
He actually did. Mokele-mbembe mostly come at night. Mostly. Actually, I'm counting that as a prediction.
That's a prediction, yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh,
he actually did it. Mokele-mbembe mostly comes at night. Oh man. Also phrasing.
Plus, when you figure the natives over there are real superstitious and scared to go out at night, they're not likely to be seen very often. Example, did you know panthers are still alive in Florida?
I know they're in Texas. I'm less confident about Florida, but I guess it wouldn't be completely out of the realm of possibility.
Unless he's referring to the hockey team, the Florida Panthers.
He might be.
Panthers, like the
Possible.
big cat. How many have ever seen one alive in the wild? I've lived here 11 years. I've seen one, and it was dead on the highway. And yet we've got a population of how many millions here in Florida? And I would say the vast majority have never seen a live panther. But they're living right here.
Apparently there are panthers in Florida. Other people are confirming. Look, I don't know the exact range of panthers. I'm a dinosaur guy, not a silly mammal guy.
I thought you knew everything about Florida.
No. Goodness, if there's one place I don't want to know everything about, it's Florida. Goodness.
Right.
Savage Behold the Banana Cobra for $2 says, the irony of Kent calling others superstitious. Yeah. There is a bit of that. Yeah. And in case anyone wants an update, we are 75 off from another tutu.
I was surprised to find out after living here in this house quite a while that there's an owl that lives in that tree right behind here. I've only seen it twice in the 11 years we've lived here. A huge owl.
I feel like it probably doesn't live in that tree, more it just kind of owls go to that tree sometimes. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's an owl nest there or something.
Well, it's nocturnal, okay? It's out at night. So, the creatures in the swamp in Africa...
Oh, wait, no, lost it. Never mind. Sorry.
Apparently about 20 feet long, mostly neck and tail. The body's about the size of a hippopotamus. The natives...
That's pretty small for a sauropod, but okay.
Showed Dr. Mackel the favorite plant. They said it's the Malombo plant. And there's Dr. Mackel holding one. He says it has a fruit on it that's sort of like an apple, but harder than an apple. And Mokele-mbembe just loves these things. So they will even climb up out of the water into the jungle to get these plants and eat them.
I will say, if there were to be an aquatic or semi-aquatic sauropod, the size of a hippo would be a pretty reasonable size for such a thing to exist. So, that's not crazy, I suppose.
Typically, again, at night, or very, very early in the morning, some natives claim they see...
Ooh, a Staryu says, name a megafauna that isn't endangered and I'll finish my drink. Are musk oxen endangered? Let's find out. Let's find out. Let's Google it. Are musk oxen endangered? Least concern. Boom. Megafaunal animal, not endangered. Their least concern, muskox.
First
Take
try.
that. You better finish that drink. You better do it.
See one when they go out real early to go fishing. They will see one of these animals, and they'll, it'll duck under the water and make big waves, and even sometimes knock their canoe over, just because of the waves of this giant creature submerging. Dr. Mackle here has shown, outlined with a footprint. This is again from Time, Life, Mysterious Creatures, page 94. There's Mackle's phone number there. He lives in California.
We got the phone number. Yes. I love getting the phone number. What's my source? Call this guy. That's true. We get two.
Maybe one's a fax.
Look, it's probably just the quality of this video, but I can't tell that there's a footprint there. Never mind that it's a sauropod footprint. Yeah, random doxing. Goodness. Ugh, Kent is always doing that. That's why I didn't have my second debate with him, because originally, Erica and I were going to set up a debate with Kent, and I emailed him about it, and he was like, "Well, I want your real names and your what you studied, your education levels, and like you to both be on camera and all this crap." And I'm like, "Nah, I'll pass. Thanks, though." Yeah.
He's got a Chicago phone number. He's retired now from University of Chicago. But he's examining a footprint that the natives showed him where the animal came up out of the water and walked across the land to go after some more of these plants. They said to Mackle, if you want to find a Mokele-mbembe, find a place where there's lots of these plants and no hippopotamus.
Do the hippopotamus live in the Congo? I don't think so.
I don't know.
I mean, look, I don't have a...
Congo.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, maybe... I know pygmy hippopotamuses live pretty far west and south of where, the major, regular common hippopotamus do. That's... I don't know. I'm going to check a hippopotamus range map.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, they do. They do. Okay, cool. Cool. Good. That's good to know. Look, I don't know where everything lives.
Because they don't like hippopotamus. They drive them out of their part of the river.
I mean, it takes quite the animal to drive the hippopotamus away. I've seen a video of hippopotamuses just owning lions for coming to drink in one of their ponds. And by owning, I mean unaliving a lion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hippos they are absolute units, if you will. Because apparently it's like the 2000s again.
That's his story. You can read it for yourself in the book. Gene Thomas, a missionary friend of mine, was there for 42 years. He's now retired back in Ohio. There's his name, address, phone number.
More doxing. Fun. Carrie Bronson for $5 says, there once was a gibbon quite sickly, for bad science made her feel icky. She packed a big net and got on a jet to go fish for bones in Lake Vicky. That's true. Apparently, Erica, in fact, has been having great luck at finding ape teeth, or maybe just primate teeth, I'm not sure, over around Lake Victoria, which is in large part thanks to the YouTube audience that she has generously donating to both a GoFundMe and in the form of super chats that allowed her to get the funding to go and participate in a dig out in Kenya, which again, sometimes YouTube audiences are amazing. And you guys are one of those amazing YouTube audiences.
You can call him up if you don't believe me. He said the natives over there wouldn't talk about it much, but occasionally they would. And there were two pygmies that he met that had claimed to they killed and ate a Mokele-mbembe. And he calculated it would have been roughly about 1959. They don't use the same calendar we use, but he said...
I'm actually not sure that, most tribal groups in the Congo use a calendar with numbered years. I don't actually know, though.
Probably about the late 50s, they claimed they killed one. He said, now, in the high humidity over here in Africa and the high temperature, meat spoils very quickly. he said the natives told him that everybody that ate the meat either got sick or died. It could be there's some poison in the meat. It could be, you know, a new animal, they didn't know how to properly clean it to get rid of the poison glands or whatever. Like if you
I'm just going to say it's extremely unlikely that an animal that relies almost entirely on just being too big to eat is also poisonous. Like, that's something you get with, like, little bitty frogs and tiny insects and crap like that. I'm just going to take a drink. That's dumb. This just sounds like a story that you're using to be like, well, okay, if you know that Mokele-mbembe exists, why don't you go kill one? Oh, well, you know, we did this one time, but everyone got sick, so now we don't bother anymore. That's why. Mm-hmm.
There's always an excuse.
Yep. It's just like when Kent was going through all the sea monsters, and every time they didn't keep the body, there was always some excuse. Like, oh, that's convenient that we never actually get a body to study. Weird that.
kill and eat a carp, you have to cut out the mud strip or else it tastes horrible, you know, destroys.
That's the intestines. Yeah, you have to cut out the intestines. I'm pretty sure a sauropod, which is like hugely full of intestines, would be something that people would notice. Oh, maybe we don't want to eat these because they're intestines and we know what those are. Maybe not, though. What do I know?
The meat. If you don't know how to clean it properly, you can mess it up. Same thing with deer. You know, if you shoot a deer, you don't know how to properly clean it. You can spoil the meat. He said, I'm not sure what happened, but they may have gotten sick and died. He said it could be this animal was so huge they didn't want to waste the meat and they tried to keep it too long with no refrigeration. Bottom line is, it may just be a story, but the native
maybe
said, you know, we killed it and everybody that ate it either got sick or died. And obviously they did not die. They must have just got sick. But he said, the natives said that these animals will come up out of the river if you surprise them in their part of the river, and they will hit your canoe with your tail and break your canoe to slivers. Let me back up one picture. He told me that they put stakes across the river one time to trap one of these animals because it kept bothering the fishing. The natives were going into this one lake to go fishing, and these Mokele-mbembes kept coming in there, eating the fish and scaring the fish off.
Sauropods don't eat fish. They are very, very herbivorous, and like their teeth are completely unsuited to eating anything other than leaves that they're stripping off of plants. And they also have lots of gastroliths, which are rocks that are swallowed, that help them with this. They also have gigantic guts for like fermentation, digestion. I suppose that maybe they might scare fish away. But here's the other thing. Remember how we heard that they were basically the size of a hippo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fish love water areas with hippos because, one, they eat hippo poo, and two,
gross.
Yeah, even when they don't, other things that they eat do. So if anything, this would probably attract fish rather than scaring fish off. Yeah, as Alex Marco says, yes, sauropods, famous for eating fish. Yeah, no, not so much.
So they pounded stakes in the river, one of the rivers leading to this lake, to try to stop the creature, and when it got caught tangled up in the stakes, they speared it to death. Mokele said in his book that he could still see the stakes there in the river when he went, 20 years later. So the story, he thinks, is true. Marcelina Agnagna is a biologist from the Congo. He's a communist teacher there, teaches in the communist school.
Is it me, or did Kent add an extra A at the end of this guy's first name?
Oh, I didn't hear him pronounce that.
I'm pretty sure he said Marcelina Agnagna, which doesn't seem to be accurate. Also, I love how he's like, oh, he's a communist. Okay. Like, do you have to tell me about everyone who happens to be a communist whenever you mention them, Kent? Does it matter? Does this affect what's coming up next? Yeah, I guess it does to Kent. That's true.
He says he saw one in 1983, and he drew a picture of the back. When they asked him why he didn't get a picture, Marcelina said, well, I had a camera.
Yep, he said Marcelina. Kent, there's no A at the end of that. I'm taking a drink. Just read the letters that you put on your own damn slide, man.
And I took pictures, but the film was all ruined from the high humidity.
Of course. Once again, for some convenient reason, nope, I didn't get any evidence. Okay.
Okay, reasonable story, because it is extremely high humidity.
Which apparently no one thought to take into account when they were bringing cameras into the Congo. Yeah. Super plausible. Diem, what uses half a wing, aka Diem Wing, for $2 says, communism is a red herring. Which I understand is now indeed a reference.
You carry a can.
Oh, and a star you for $4.99 says, Ken seems to be almost as scared of communists as he is of evolution. Yeah, it's... I mean, look, it's the whole, like, oh, the communists don't like Christianity, which they don't. That's true. And also, you know, Ken grew up during, like, you know, the Red Scare and whatnot. So for him, communism is just the big boogeyman. And to the point that he'll just bring it up when it doesn't have any relevance. It's I mean, I get it, but I also don't. So
Camera through the jungle sometime and see how well it functions after 2 or 3 weeks of tromping through the jungle. It's pretty tough to keep your equipment. Just survival is a full-time job. Keeping your equipment working is another whole set of problems. Anyway, this is a fascinating article by Dr. Mark Miller, who went to the Congo swamp with a crew, and I'd recommend you get this Far Out magazine. Now, these guys are not necessarily Christians. They're just
well, then we can't trust them, right, guys?
researchers, explorers, who go do research on dinosaurs still living, all kinds of amazing stuff in this Far Out magazine that you'd...
It's just as weird to me, the idea that you would need to point out whether or not you think people are Christians, as it is to think you would need to point out whether or not they're communists in situations when it really doesn't matter. Like, it's both of those things are really weird. Carrie Bronson for $5 says, a heroine going by Vish brought gauntlets and lassos... Got it. A heroine going by Vish bought gauntlets and lasso off Wish. She wrapped up old Dwayne, said, from lies refrain, and thereby she silenced old Gish. Nice. Very nice. Christopher Kenneth Atheist, who's been a member for 6 months and is at the ambient level, says, I'm watching late, just started, but AIG can get bent, which was sent via emoji. Because we got...
I will drink to that.
There. I won't, because it doesn't technically mean any of our drink triggers. But yeah, look, drink if you want to.
Far Out Adventures. Their phone number right there, or their website, azstarnet.com. Miller said they were captured by the pygmies and they were going to kill them. And so they got these guys were all in this hut, like 5 or 6 of them. They got all the patches and badges and medals they could find and put them all on this one guy's shirt. And he just marched out and said, I'm a important government representative. You know, they had Boy Scout medallions, security guard patches. Of course, the natives don't know what it is. You know, made the guy look
Yes, they've never actually seen a real government official.
Important. And he went out and said, I demand that you release us right away. Well, the natives didn't know what to do, so they released them all. That's the story he tells in there of how they got out of it. But they just were nearly killed by these pygmies. A group from Los Angeles went there. Herman Regusters and his wife Kia are mentioned in this article, dinosaur-like beast photographed during African jungle expedition. Kia and Herman described the creature. They said they saw it and photographed it, but again, the pictures didn't come out very well.
Of course, every time. It's just like Bigfoot. Maybe Mokele-mbembe is just a creature that ruins film. Well, just like Bigfoot is just kind of a blurry creature. Maybe that's what it is. He has an aura of film degradation, right? He's like a rust monster from D&D, but for film instead of metal. Maybe that's what it is. It's very convenient. Also, we're getting an entire episode of just Mokele-mbembe, and that's weird to me. Like, we're spending a lot of time and getting zero evidence of the actual existence of Mokele-mbembe. And like,
lots of excuses, though.
Oh, yeah, we're full of excuses. It's just, like, why? It's weird to me that Kent will spend this much time on something that does not even support his position. Nor would it be, if true, a problem for his opposition. Both sides would just be like, oh, okay, that's cool. And that's it. A star you for $1.99 says, this might be the most on-task Kent lecture. Okay, that's true, though. That is true. Kent is usually completely off track, and he is staying pretty strong on this one. So yeah, I mean, I'll give him that. That's fair.
High humidity destroyed the film. He said the creature was dark brown in color. The skin.
Savage Behold the Banana Cobra says, for $2, Mokele-mbembe is heavily radioactive. Yeah, I guess it's like the Ark of the Covenant in Ethiopia, right?
Skin appeared slick and smooth. Oh, that's interesting. If the skin is slick and smooth, it's.
Oh, by the way, we have skin impressions from sauropods. Bent, would you like to guess whether they have little round scales or whether their skin is slick and smooth?
I'd bet they have scales.
You are correct, sir.
Yes.
Probably an amphibian, as a.
Okay, if he says as opposed to a reptile, I am taking like 2 drinks.
Opposed to a reptile, which has.
There it is.
Called it.
I'm taking 2 drinks. One for that being incredibly dumb, and one for that being a prediction. Okay, we can tell definitively from just the skeleton that there is no way in which sauropods are not reptiles. There are 100% reptiles. Sean says for $5, since Latin is Greek, alpha iota gamma est saculum de bacula. Nice. Because they're the same. Yeah, that's like trying to write Latin in Greek, and it's kind of breaking my brain a little bit. But I'll drink to it.
I think you can handle it.
AIG et saculum de bacula, but with Greek letters. Yeah, that's. Oh, yeah, my brain does not like that very much. I'm like, wait, no, there's a mu at the end. Oh, it's Latin. Ah!
Scales. Unless it's just wet or muddy, and then you can't see the scale pattern. For instance, many snakes look slick and smooth, but they have scales.
I actually have never seen a snake that I would describe as slick and smooth where I couldn't see the scales. But that's just me, maybe. I don't know.
So it could be he didn't get a good enough view. He said the had a long neck and a small head. Herman saw it, Kia, his wife, saw it, and on several occasions, and they heard it making a tremendous roar. Now, as far as I know, the only recording available, and I have it in our archives here somewhere, is about a 4 or 5 minute recording that they made of a tape recorder.
You mean with a tape recorder, Kent?
They recorded a tape recorder.
So it's like a second hand. Well, I mean, maybe if like, okay, so someone recorded on his tape recorder, and then someone else is like, oh, I want a recording of that. Let me record your recording on my tape recorder.
Maybe, or maybe he just misspoke.
Okay, maybe.
Maybe.
Of this creature roaring at night. And it was dark, they couldn't get video footage, but they said it would go roar, and then a slapping sound. Strangest thing they'd ever heard. And when you listen to the tape, you'll say, man, that sounds strange. They checked the voice print of this, whatever it was, because they just turned the tape recorder on and let it record while this creature is making its roaring sound. They couldn't even see it. They checked it with all sorts of other animals. You know, what's close to this anyway? What makes this sound? They found it was reasonably close voice print to, I think, a gecko lizard or some lizard, that when it roars, the skin on its throat puffs out, and then the skin slaps back.
So why wasn't it a gecko?
Good question.
Next
question.
Find.
Right?
And so they guess it might be some kind of giant reptile making this noise.
But I thought you just said it was a amphibian, Ken, and not a reptile. Make up your mind.
But Herman and his wife Kia said they heard the creature. Many other members of the expedition, including government officials from the Republic of Congo, saw it and heard it.
Cool, man. That's also true for Bigfoot. Like, physical evidence or, you know, STFU, right? Like, that's it. Put up or get out. Give me some physical evidence. Give me a body. Give me something. All right, guys. We're going to start...
bones.
Yeah, some bones would be great. We're going to start wrapping things up, though. So, Bent, do you have anything you want to announce before we go ahead?
First of all, I want to give a thank you to DM Wing for purchasing an item on my Amazon wish list.
Nice.
The doggy diaper suspender. That's very nice. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
I do have an Amazon wish list with other items on it. I have music. There's a link in the description to the Google Drive. And I have a Patreon, which also has music on it, including a free song, a Cleon opera song. That's what I call it. But and then Top Hats Off tomorrow night, Power Rangers.
Yes.
Very excited.
We're going to be continuing with Power Rangers Jungle Beasts tomorrow. Also, Dr. Tapioca Weasel just gifted a membership and it went to Grungevaldi Gurdison, I think. Hopefully I said that right. We'll take a drink. Okay, which means that we're probably not getting another tutu. Because we're still about, 45 away. So, that's okay, though, because it just means, hey, you don't have to wear a tutu next time.
Yeah. All right, cool.
Yeah. All right, well, guys, let's take a look at what's coming up in the next week or so on the channel. So, on Thursday, we have the third and final part of the series about Jeffrey Tompkins, the creationist who can't math. Then, on Saturday, the 15th of July, 2023, in case you're watching this in the future, we have the plan currently is the next Gish with Vish. That'll be Gish with Vish number 2, where we talk about Dwayne Gish. The one, the only Dwayne Gish. Then on Tuesday the 18th, I have just confirmed with Maddie today that she should be good for a Matt with Maddie. And that is 1 week in the future, and that's how far ahead we're going to look for now. If you are a channel member or a patron, do expect a new video this week. It, like I said, is currently rendering over on Sheepit, so hopefully that'll be done soon. Now, DM What Uses Half a Wing, aka DM Twing for $5, says, since we're wrapping up, I haven't had a chance to preach the truth of the best tetrapods, turtles. Mm-hmm. Well, again, I will neither confirm nor deny that turtles are the best tetrapods. All right. Now, if you are a channel member or a patron, you probably have access to the Discord. Head over there if you want, because we are about to watch the last 2 episodes of Power Rangers Turbo, and the first 2 episodes of Power Rangers in Space. See you later, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for watching, but before you go, I just want to say a special thank you to my channel members and my patrons, especially those pledging $20 or above.
Bent Hovind, Tapioca Weasel, Denny5252, Eleron Teller, Phil Cavara, Ian Chen, Kelvin Brostig Van Manen, Landon Knoll, Mabdy Babby, Monkey They Them, Mrs. Spexinder, San, Sphincter of Doom, and the Venerable Bede.
As you probably know, YouTube is a very volatile platform, and from month to month my income on the channel can swing wildly. But the people you see on screen are directly supporting so that I don't have to worry too much about that, and the channel can keep going as it is, and perhaps even improving. If you'd like to join this team, there are links below to join the channel or in the description to join the Patreon. The Patreon starts as low as $1 a month, and the channel memberships start as low as $1.99 a month. On Patreon, you can even get a discount for pledging annually. If you do decide to pledge, you'll get access to an exclusive Discord server just for channel supporters.
And either way, you get early access to virtually all of my scripted videos, often 3 to 5 months before they come out for the general public.
Now, if an annual or monthly pledge isn't right for you, but you still want to support the channel, there is a merch store down in the description, as well as an Amazon wish list, just for me. And if financial support isn't something you can or want to do, then if you still want to help out the channel, please just like and share these videos and make sure you comment on them. It really helps the channel out. Thanks again for watching.